Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a fun video to share with you. Here in New Zealand at the end of June we are celebrating Matariki. Now for those of you not in New Zealand, Matariki is both the Maori name for the Pleiades star cluster and the celebration of its rising in and around June or July. It marks the beginning of the Maori New Year, and Matariki is a time of remembering the past, celebrating the present, and preparing for the coming year. So I decided that for Matariki this year, I wanted to create a traveler's notebook that I could use as a reflection journal. And I'm going to use my new Cricut Maker 3 and the Cricut Design Space to help me. So a huge thank you to Cricut for sending me the Maker 3 to use. Now the Maker 3 can cut over 300 different materials, and I have to say that I am totally keen to try leather and maybe balsa wood, but since I am such a beginner, I'm just going to start with the basics. So I've pulled out a bunch of papers from my stash, and I'm keeping more to kind of like night sky shades, so lots of blues and purples. I've also got some vellum, and I'm going to use some Cricut matte metallic adhesive foil and some white smart vinyl as well. Now the brilliant thing about the smart vinyl is that it doesn't require a mat. You just load it straight in. Plus the Maker 3 cuts twice as fast when it's cutting smart materials. So I'm going to head over to my computer and start working in the design space. Now, I was a little bit intimidated about learning new software, but honestly, the Cricut Design Space has been pretty simple to pick up, both here on my computer and on my iPad. So I've already gone ahead and used some of the images and fonts available in the design space to create a few page designs for my journal. And so I'm so glad I started my trial to Cricut Access because I've already used quite a few projects and images from there. I also easily uploaded my own design into Design Space, so I know it isn't going to be an issue transferring any of the other cut files that I already own into here. So today I wanted to show you how easy it is to make your own shaped page for a journal using the Design Space. So obviously my project's quite star themed, so that's the shape that I'm going to make today, but you could literally make any shape that you want. The only thing that you have to remember is to create your shape within the dimensions of your traveler's notebook or the notebook that you're making, so I will show you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to shapes, and I am literally just going to pick a star. All of those shapes are available there, like it's so easy to use. You can adapt the sizes and whatnot as you go, but these are all the free shapes. There's a lot of things that you can make with them, and then honestly there's like every shape that you could imagine if you get your Cricut Access subscription. You get the free trial when you get the machine, so I'm still using my free trial, but like honestly you can like search just literally thousands of shapes. Super simple. I'm just going to use my star here. So this star, I've just kind of roughly resized it, and it's 9 inches tall by 8.7 wide. So it's far too big, and this is what I mean by worrying about dimensions. So the height of my notebook is 8¼ inches. So if I change the height, and I'm just making sure that I've got that little aspect ratio locked, which means it's going to stay that same shape. If you unlock it, you can change the size and it squeezes it, if you see what I mean, and that's not what I want to do. So I'm just going to undo that, and then it is locked, so I want my height to be 8.25. That's going to make it the exact height of my notebook. However, the width is still too wide, so even when my notebook is flat, it's only going to be 8½ inches wide. Each side of my spread is 8¼ so this is too big. The little points of the star are going to be sticking out the side of the notebook, and it'll end up being like a little bit hazardous because they'll just get bent. So instead of making this the height, I'm going to make it the width of my notebook. So I'm going to make it 8½. And then this means it's a little bit shorter than 8 1/4. It's not really that big a deal, but if you wanted to make sure it was exact, you can then unlock it and go 8.25. And that's going to make your shape exactly the right size that you want. Now I'm just going to really quickly change the color of my star here so you can see what I'm about to do next. I'm going to grab a new shape and I'm going to grab a line. Here's my line. I'm going to drag it up until it's in roughly the middle. It doesn't matter quite just yet. And then I'm going to drag out the height to be, wow, I mean, it doesn't matter what the height is. That's the height of my notebook. I'm just going to resize it manually here until it fits through the middle of my star. Now, when I deselect that, you can see it's got this little scored line. How handy. It tells me that my operation up here is scoring, because that's what I want to do. I just want to create a really easy fold down the middle of my page. So my start is a basic cut, and then in the middle of my basic cut, I am going to have a score line so that I can fold it into my notebook. Now, just before I go ahead and send this to my Cricut, I'm going to drag over both of those and attach them together so that they're going to be one file. Let me show you what happens if you don't. So if they're detached like they were before, they're two separate things. You can see them here, two separate modes. And when I go to make it, it's got my score line on one Cricut mat and it's got my star on another. So that's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that both of these things are selected together by attaching them. So I'm going to make this design now and show you how easy it is to send it to the Maker 3. So I just hit Make It and it brings up my mat that I'm going to need to use. It's telling me that I've got a score and a basic cut. It's on a 12 by 12 inch material and I can just click Continue. The Maker 3 has an adaptive tool system, so I don't need to worry about settings or anything like that. It takes care of it for me. So it even tells me what tools to load into the machine for each material that I'm using. Like there's a range of tools, but I'm only going to be cutting and scoring today. So the cutting blade is already in the machine, but I want to talk about the scoring. There is a scoring wheel available, but because I'm going to be stitching my journal together, I don't want to have like little cut marks along the center of my pages. That's what the scoring wheel does. So instead, I'm going to switch this tool and use the scoring stylus. All I do is follow the instructions on screen and insert my scoring stylus into the tool holder. And then I can go ahead and load my mat. It's got my paper on there. I just press the load button. The Cricut does the kind of measuring. It lines up my paper. And then when that's all ready to go, I just follow the instruction on screen, which tells me when it's ready. The little play button flashes up, ready to play, and I can go ahead and send my design to the Cricut. And now I've got all of those pages cut out and ready to go. I'm going to pull this journal together really quickly. The first thing I want to do is use some transfer tape to add my smart vinyl title to my front cover. Now I felt rather adventurous tackling this because you can see there are some very tiny little letters on there, but apart from this one little I just didn't burnish everything onto the transfer tape, just quite enough. It came off really easily, and I love having white writing on the front of my cover. Just such a pretty look. And I'm basically going to repeat the same process because I cut out some stars. These are the same stars as the front of my cover, which is actually the Matariki star cluster. So I've just cut them out again, this time in in that, it's kind of a rosy gold color of the adhesive foil, and I'm just using that kind of washi tape method to make sure that those stay in the exact right place, so that when this piece of vellum is in behind my cover, you'll be able to see the foil through the front. And then to put the journal all together, I'm going to use those score lines that the Cricut made and just lightly fold along them. I don't need to sort of harshly crease them or anything. At this point, I just want to get a basic fold in there, and I'm going to put this journal all together. So I've got my pages that the Cricut cut. I also cut some blank pages with the Cricut, so just the right size with a score line, and I'm going to kind of work out where I want all of those pages to fit, so that there's some completely white spreads, there's some colored spreads. I've got those cut file pieces sort of spread out throughout the journal. It was a lot thicker than maybe I wanted, so I did end up pulling out a couple of pages from there, but then I am going to use my stitching tool just to stitch this all together, and then my notebook will be all done. And here it is. My Matariki Reflection Traveler's Notebook is all ready for me to add in my journaling and images, which you can see I couldn't wait to get started. So I've already started adding in some of my photos. The other thing that I did do is keep all of those scraps from the offcuts of the cut files, the little stars, and all of the extra pattern papers. So I've already started decorating, gluing in photos, gluing in stars, just starting to fill in my journal. And I've gone ahead and made all of those cut files that I created in the design space. I've made them available publicly. So if you want to make your own Matariki reflection journal, I will leave the links for you down below. Again, I want to say a thank you to Cricut for sending me the Maker 3, and a huge thank you to you for watching today. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. I really hope you enjoyed watching this journal come to life. If you did, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Happy Matariki, everyone. I'll see you again really soon. Bye.